Alright everyone, it's time for the Occult, video 223 on cowards, really on sort of the philosophy or the philosophical basis of my beliefs from a more pagan and occult perspective on the idea of cowardice versus maybe being more straightforward to people. The weak individuals, not always weak, sometimes just subversive, but usually weak individuals, will act in certain ways that belie the fact that they're cowards. This is purely philosophy. If we look at sort of the ancient, sort of pagan philosophies of time, generally speaking, not invariably, but under most circumstances, it was considered virtuous to be more forthright. Like, basically, you have a problem with me, tell me to my face. And maybe we fight about it, maybe we talk about it, maybe we go drink together and there's no more problem. Probably the latter in the Norse case more often than not. Thankfully, they weren't quite as butcherous as some people think. But generally, I think in ancient Persia, they used to debate things twice in their little councils. They do it sober and then they do it drunk, and then they would arrive at their conclusion. I have to assume that the drunken conclusion usually won out, but that's probably just because they wanted to do a do-over. But anyway, generally speaking, the idea was, say it to my face, you got a problem with me, tell me about it so that, things can be solved one way or the other. In more modern times, a lot of people, and some of this is cultural, are less direct. That is, some people, they won't do jack shit in person, but you can sort of tell, like speaking as an anecdote here, because of the fact that I'm well known online, and specifically I did, for quite some time there, I was doing a Vermont series and stuff. I am aware that there are people that I pass on the street on a regular basis that, understand who I am. They know of me in some way. Some of these people enjoy my work, or they enjoy what I believe in or whatever. I've had people come up and shake my hand, blah, 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 and I think your work's cool, can I take a selfie sort of stuff. At the same time, I have never had a single person come up and say, basically, you're an asshole. My assumption is that some people think that, but they simply won't say it. They have a problem with me. And unfortunately, because I've looked, because I've interacted with people online as well, I understand that in some cases people have the wrong impression about me and they believe things about me that other people have said that aren't even true. For instance, they saw of me first on BuzzFeed and so they think I'm alt-right. Or they read the Wall Street Journal's little write-up a couple of years ago and so they think that I'm one of Alex Jones' acolyte and that I come from the weird side of YouTube or something like that. Well, these claims aren't true, they're spurious. But somebody might believe them. And so if they see me on the street, they probably don't, they're not going to confront me probably. It's one thing to say confront versus randomly attack, like jump somebody. That's a little bit different. That's kind of cowardly too, because it's usually from behind. But just to come up and air your grievances and say, you're that idiot from YouTube, haha, what a loser, be funny actually, to tell the truth. It'd be kind of amusing. But it never happens. My assumption is that that if people were more forward about things, it would happen occasionally. Because I'm sure there are people out there that have a problem with me. Probably for reasons that aren't even real, but it happens. Shit happens. Someone might be a total college social justice warrior. They think I'm the devil or something like that. I'm sure this has happened to other people. Also, you'll notice people talk a big game usually, especially from the safety of a keyboard, it's easier to say, haha, I'm going to end you or something like that, and then it doesn't happen. Oh man, hundreds of people have threatened to kill me. I'm still here somehow. It makes sense to take defensive precautions, but ultimately you should just be able to sleep soundly at night. Get the police involved if you're really upset about things. But then, you've got to realize something else. There are sort of two overarching groups of cowards. Sometimes people who are cowardly, actually, they're not dumb. They're not even necessarily morally wrong. Sometimes some of the biggest cowards run big banks and corporations and lead armies and things like that. They have other people do their dirty work for them, possibly out of a sense in general of cowardice. They're not necessarily even morally wrong. Sometimes their military victories liberate people and stuff, but they just don't want to be one of the people fighting. Coward doesn't have to be explicitly negative in all senses. A person who's cowardly can still do good, or at least they can still be motivated by thinking that they're doing good. But in some cases, we tend to take the stereotype of someone, they're in the king's court trying to subvert things behind the scenes, trying to get the evil brother on the throne or something like that. They're subversive, but they're specifically negative. They're like a Grima Wormtongue sort of situation, that they're a bad person or corrupted in some way. That's not always the case. I would say that's generally the case, though, with the regular average coward, though. oftentimes they're motivated by malevolence. This is sort of people who'll talk about you behind your back, but then when you turn and face them, they shut up really quickly. It's really interesting. There are a lot of them on the internet. Yeah, obviously, people have to deal with that all the time. You don't have to be well known. Trust me. Go. If you've attended high school, you've probably dealt with certain groups of people saying weird shit about you. No matter, it doesn't matter. By the way, it's funny when you're in high school, you feel this pressure to like conform or join a group or a clique or something like that. It never really works. Like, you can be like the top jock, one of the popular preppy kids. The nerds are talking about you behind your back probably. The grungy kids over there, they fucking hate you and they think that you're an asshole or something. And if you're like me and you're more on the nerdy side, maybe the preppy kids talk about you, the artsy kids or something. It's just sort of what happens. It's cowardly. Although in a way it develops little social groups, so in a way it's sort of, I don't know, it's a biological trait in ways. People tend to form these little miniature tribes that are sort of self-limiting because the number of people you can truly be interpersonal with is limited. So it's almost like the natural splitting of people into little miniature sub-tribes or something like that. Almost like a little knockoff, non-genetic family. Mainly for mating purposes later in life. It's very interesting how that works. I know that's totally off the subject. It's just, an interesting thing I happen to want to remark on. But here's the thing. It's usually better to say it to someone's face, and then, the best thing to do is avoid conflict. Drink it out, basically. Air your grievances, yell at each other, and pretty soon, unless you're like sociopathic or something, if you sort of have it out and like have a big argument and stuff, usually after 10-15 minutes you feel better, and then you're like, well, fuck it, basically. You want to go smoke weed or something. I don't, but some people do. That happens. Yeah, had that happen before too. It's cathartic. It can be fun too. Sometimes it's hilarious, because then you laugh about it afterwards. It becomes funny. That's about all. Peace out.